Hello and welcome everyone. We're here with Caleb Silver. I'm very glad to join you for this quick fireside chat, Caleb. And you are the editor-in-chief at Investopedia. Investopedia is the go-to resource for millions of people from literally all over the world, right? Looking to get reliable financial investment data and information. It's been around for over 20 years, right? And it's really a fantastic tool for first-time investors, but also for more experienced business owners, financial advisors, etc. So, Caleb, thanks for joining us. Can you tell us more about Investopedia in your own words and
Sure.
the role you see it play during this very challenging year, 2020?
Right. Well, thank you, and it's great to be with you, Annie. And thanks again to the Texposition team and Iffy and her squad for a great conference so far. Investopedia, as you said, has been around for 22 years. So 22 years in internet time is like 220 years. So we've been here forever. We were started in 1999 in Canada, in Edmonton, Canada. We're now in New York based, by four gentlemen who decided that they wanted to index the internet and put financial terms and definitions online. And they had this idea that there was this company in Mountain View, California called Google that was trying to index the internet. So if they put the financial dictionary up online, because everybody was talking about internet stocks in 1999, maybe Google would point to Investopedia as having the answers. Well, they were absolutely right about that, and it turned into a huge business. They started adding test prep. They started adding retirement, investing, personal finance content to the site. But I think broadly speaking, and this is no different today than it was 1999, we're here to answer people's questions, in particular about investing, about finance, about running a business, about money writ large. And we get about 90% of our traffic through search, and we have about 23, 24 million users around the world. And I just noticed that I was looking through where people in Africa come to us from, and the top country, South Africa, about 33% of our traffic in Africa comes from South Africa, about 17.5% comes from Nigeria, then Kenya. English speaking, we're a more English speaking country, where English is spoken more predominantly. That's where you'll find us. We are here to answer people's questions, and our traffic, Annie, in 2020 has been through the roof because people have a lot of questions.
Mm-hmm. Clearly, and clearly, it's also, I mean, your role of Investopedia is also about filling information gaps for any potential investor. You mentioned the fact that you mostly read and use in Anglophone Africa. So we'll come back to that, and maybe we'll have questions from participants. Caleb, you have a massive experience in business news and documentaries. Now, tell us, what is the biggest challenge you have faced or are facing on a regular basis? I mean, the biggest challenge in your work right now. You mentioned 2020 as quite a challenge, but what what is your biggest challenge in your work right now, and how do you handle it?
Hours in the day is probably my biggest challenge. I start working around 5:36 in the morning and go till around 8 o'clock at night, but I love it. I think the challenge is we're 22. We have 35,000 pieces of content on the site, about 12,000 definitions and terms. But the world is changing and has changed so much in 2020. We spend a lot of our time and our budget updating existing content. So the definition of something like GDP, the definition doesn't change, but how we look at it changes. And when we look at GDP by country, country by country, which is one of our top performing articles, that's changing on a quarterly basis because the world's moving so fast. So updating existing data to make sure that the articles that our users are coming to are accurate and right and of the moment is a huge challenge, while at the same time putting out new content, because we don't just want to be the reference site. We want to be a site with a particular point of view on the side of the individual investor or the individual homeowner or household operator who's just trying to run their finances intelligently. So staying on top of what we have and then creating new things that speak to where we are today.
Let's zoom in on Africa. And let's talk about the African investment story, which is it's a love story, let's say, because Africa has been attracting a lot of investments lately, but it's also a complicated one, right? And it shows the link between reputation, investment, and economic transformation that this continent actually needs. Do you think Investopedia and maybe other actors in this field can play a role in in sort of rebalancing that story in a way that reflects realities on the ground?
Absolutely. I mean, that's another one of our bigger challenges is that, we have been, because we were formed in Canada, we've been mostly North America centric, very North America centric. But there's an entire, world of investors out there, and it's become a globalized investing world. We may be seeing deglobalization in other places, but in terms of investing, in terms of money, in terms of fintech, in terms of all these new developments, it's wide open, and we haven't done enough to address it. We have a lot of users in Africa, as I mentioned, millions a month. And I get questions every month from some very smart people from Nigeria or Senegal or South Africa about why don't we do more on African companies and African investments? And it's a huge avenue for us, and we should and we will. So absolutely, we need to do that. But I was also going through and looking at what our African visitors look up on Investopedia to see kind of where their mind's at right now. It's not an exact picture, but I will tell you that people are very interested in knowing about foreign exchange and how foreign exchange and trading foreign exchange works. They're very interested in Bitcoin and blockchain and how cryptocurrency can be used as both a payment system, but also investing in it. They're also interested in the core investing terms like PE and price to growth and value chains and looking at how businesses are run. So it's a very active and engaged user base in Africa. And some of it is tactical. How do I trade this or how do I access this type of investment? Some of it is how do I evaluate companies in a more responsible manner?
I see. And we also, well, we both work in the field of communication and journalism, and you'll probably agree that our professions are under a lot of pressure right now because of all the challenges related to disinformation, misinformation, or fake news. How is this affecting your work?
We are on an unusual island there because have been known as a reference site with just the facts. What does price to growth mean? What does PE ratio mean? How do you calculate this or that? There's not a lot of room, nor do we have the desire to take a political side or to get into that mix. The fact, Annie, that we both have worked in news. You work in news. News to me, and I worked 20 years in that business, is a push medium. Extra, extra. Read all about it. Here's what's going on. Pay attention to us right now. We have this. This is our take. We are a pull medium. We are a pull publisher. People are coming to us, and they're not coming in through one door. They're coming in through about, you know, 35,000 doors. So the traffic is coming at us. It's not us doing a lot of that. Now, I've done a lot of push in Investopedia, but 90% of the traffic is through people actually coming to us for an answer. So there's no reason for us to get into, taking up, like I said, taking a political side or having some bias. We're on the side of the individual investor. We're on the side of the person looking for answers about how to manage their money better. So I think people trust us for that. And that people trust us for that, not just because we're growing and our traffic is growing, because that's the commentary I get every day in my newsletters. Thank you for just giving me the facts and the educated way on how to approach it.
So, how do you manage all that traffic coming from Africa? And do you have how do you access data from the continent, from across the continent, even beyond, you mentioned South Africa, Nigeria, Kenya. How do you manage that?
Well, we use tools. So the basic tools are Google Analytics, but we also use something called SEMrush data that looks at where our top terms are ranking on this, what we call the SERP, on the Google result page. So we're constantly looking at that. But then, Annie, we do this thing where we look at opportunities. Where do we have gaps in our content? And again, 35,000 pieces of content, that's a lot. But we have gaps. And where are those gaps? And if I wanted to say, given that we have 33% of our African traffic coming from South Africa, there's gaps in that content. What are they looking for? And then we have tools that show us where search volume has been the greatest and the most concentrated over the last 6 months, and where does it have the possibility of growing the most in the next 6 months based on traffic trends. We can identify those things that we want to cover, whether it's social responsible investing or how to start a business in Johannesburg or what have you. We can find the gaps, write content to that, and immediately see the results because we see the traffic.
Well, that's fascinating, especially when you mention those gaps in content. Are there specific markets you want to mention where you have a special interest?
Well, we haven't done enough on private markets. we pay a lot of attention, like the rest of the financial media, and it's just the way it is, to stocks because they're sexy and there's stories behind them, and their CEOs are interesting or their products are interesting. That's what gets all the noise in financial media. We have a lot on the credit market, less exciting. But the private market is where more and more capital is flowing. You see it in Africa, I'm sure. Um, in terms of private equity, you see it in companies choosing to remain private. There's less public companies today than there were 10 years ago, than there were 20 years ago. So there's a lot of money in the capital market, in the private capital markets. And we need to do a better job of explaining to individual investors how to access that, where the returns are, and how to navigate it. So for sure there, but also around the world, and Africa is a place where we know we have growing traffic and growing interest. What can we be doing? Because investing in Africa is very different from investing in the United States, from investing in Europe. The principles may be the same. The rules, the regulations, and the strategies are very different.
Interesting. So, how is Investopedia making sense of the fact that most African countries right now are looking to diversify their economies and then taking steps to attract different type of investors from across the world? Is there a role for Investopedia in this new context or in this growing, changing context?
Absolutely. Look at the way the payments uh, ecosystem is working right now. Peer-to-peer payments. Africa was way ahead of that in mobile phone payments and transacting commerce through phones, basically creating a blockchain outside of the, what we know as the blockchain today. So that's already Africa's way advanced on that, and the United States is just catching up. We have a lot to do there. Payments in general is an interesting space. The blockchain in general is a very interesting space on how it applies to local and regional economies outside of the US. So I think we could play a role there. I also think you have an emerging class of investors and an emerging class of very interesting companies. I just ran a panel with some women who are running venture capital and investing firms. They have more companies and capital than they know what to do with. They don't have enough places to put it. That's a great sign that you have an emerging class of investors and great entrepreneurs who want to do cool things, and you have capital both inside Africa and outside that wants to be put to work. We can help in that process just by being the educator, the explainer. That's how we've come to be who we are today around the world, but we can play a bigger role certainly in Africa there.
Well, I'm gonna have to leave in 5 minutes. Let me check if we have any questions from the audience. Do you want to say a few words about Investopedia Academy and maybe its relevance or interest
Sure.
for African markets?
Sure. Everything on an Investopedia is free, except the Academy. We decided a few years ago that we had so many people coming to us to want to learn tactical ways to begin investing or to trade the Forex market or to learn how to invest in blockchain or Bitcoin. We have these questions coming to us by the tens of thousands every single day. And articles do a decent job of explaining that. But we realized even before the pandemic that more and more we were seeing online learning take off. So we decided to create a library of video courses. And we try to keep them at a price point that was available to people that teach them all the things that they were asking us. How do I get started investing? How do I tell the difference between a mutual fund and an ETF? How do I invest in the currency market? How do I do cross-country investing? So we created this library of content. It's called the Investopedia Academy. It's in our header. About 40 classes there that teach things from very simple, from Excel and using Excel to model in finance, to how do I invest in complicated markets. Those courses range anywhere from $30 a piece to $299 a piece. We sell bundles. You can buy a bundle of several of them, and that has been very useful for our users who are at home this year in particular, but a lot of people just do a lot of online learning by themselves. And that has been a very nice product for us, but it's in the spirit of who we are. Be the educator, be the website, the publisher that answers people's questions, explains things to them, and gives them the tools to go out and run their money better, manage their personal finances better, or become a better investor.
And it's available open to everyone.
It's available all the time. And you can, we have lots of customers in Africa. I think South Africa is probably our biggest country, but Nigeria, we have a lot of customers there as well.
What about the big francophone countries, in Africa? Like
Like
Congo
Senegal.
or
Yeah. So we have traffic there, but again, we're in English. We haven't translated our website into other languages. So where you find, lots of English-speaking learners, you'll find traffic for Investopedia. So around the world, that means India, that means Europe, that means Southeast Asia, where English is spoken, Australia, obviously, and New Zealand, and South Africa in particular. But We want to grow bigger. So if you have ideas on how Investopedia can play a better role, you or anybody listening to this conversation, we're all ears.
Well, well noted. What are your plans for the future? We'll end with that.
Our plans are to continue to grow in areas, and especially around financial products. We have a lot of people looking to what's the best platform to start investing? What's the best platform if I want to build a cryptocurrency wallet? So we have those questions coming in, and we've decided to review those products, credit cards, online brokers, robo advisors, insurance companies, banks, and personal loans. That's very useful to our users, and they trust us because they know who we are. We're not trying to sell anything to them that they don't want. We want to give them the straight editorial shot and let them make a decision. So we'll grow there. And I think we could do more in video. We have a lot of video on the site, but obviously video, I think, has a chance on the internet. So we'll lean more into that in the future.
Well, thank you so much. We're now at the end of this chat. So I'm gonna have to let you go. It's been a pleasure talking with you. It was short, but very fascinating. And thanks a lot for all the insights. I'm sure anyone who didn't know about Investopedia, but I'm not sure there was any participant who didn't know about it, got a lot of information and insights also from this conversation. So thank you so much. And yes, let's keep in touch. And thanks again for being with us.
Thank you, Annie. Great moderation, and good luck on the rest of your panels today.
Thank you. Same for you.